Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. Was going to make this video yesterday, but I came down with what I can only describe as a case of the flu. Felt like the flu, my arms were aching, my legs were aching, my head hurt, my throat hurt. And I've decided today, well, we've got to talk about this one really, haven't we? We're in the middle of the January transfer window. We have just signed a wonderful, apparently, Ukrainian winger who goes by the name of Mykhaylo Mudryk. I want to talk a little bit about this deal today for Chelsea. I want to talk a bit about financial fair play. I remember the days when this didn't exist, and if Chelsea was spending money, it was simply a case of pure excitement and adrenaline amongst the fan base, thinking, blimey, we are buying the Premier League again. Yes, we've done that in the past, but I want to talk to you about the word amortization today, which is a word that's been flying around, and I've got to admit, as much as I'd say my vocabulary as an English-speaking individual isn't all that bad, I was unaware of what this word meant, as obviously I don't really operate in a business world. I literally sit here in front of this camera talking about my thoughts on my football team, which is a wonderful enjoyment job to have, but amortization, what does this word mean? Well, according to Google, it is the process of gradually writing off the initial cost of an asset. Now, Mykhaylo Mudryk has come in, and football fans around the world have been like, bloody hell, Chelsea, what on earth are you doing spending 100 million euros on a forward player when you desperately need a backup right back? We're going to talk about that and the debate surrounding this today, because players don't want to come in and be guaranteed second fiddle to Reece James. Topic for later on. And we also desperately need a central midfielder to spruce up an aging midfield, to bring some kind of stability to a team that over the years has relied on a solid spine. And at the moment, Chelsea fans, everyone are looking at Chelsea Football Club thinking, what have we got going on in the middle of the park? However, first things first, FFP and the Mudryk signing. So Chelsea have given Mudryk an 8.5-year contract, which sounds absolutely outrageous. We've also gone and signed Badiashile and given him a hefty long contract as well. The reason behind this is so that Chelsea, in this current moment, I think despite what anyone wants to say about we're spending so much money, we've spent too much money, whatever, I think Chelsea need this at this moment in time when you've got all of the changes that we had from Abramovich to Todd Bowley, you've got Champions League winning manager Thomas Tuchel to long-term Graham Potter project coming in. You've also got a load of signings in the summer just gone where Chelsea have significantly overpaid for players such as Marc Cucurella. You could say at the age, Koulibaly has come in and done absolutely nothing to warrant any kind of substantial fee. Badiashile comes in, has a wonderful debut against Crystal Palace, and Chelsea already looking and maybe thinking, well, should we just try and sell Kalidou Koulibaly? Would there be another taker in Italy when he knows how to defend and play in that league? Are Chelsea looking at it thinking Levi Colwill is in the box alongside Mykhaylo Mudryk, looking pretty happy, coming back at the end of this season, currently absolutely blowing the Premier League by storm for Brighton. That's probably the wrong phrase that I used there, but we're going to roll with it anyway. So Chelsea, by making these long contracts, by splitting up the payments that we're going to give to Shakhtar Donetsk for Mykhaylo Mudryk, it keeps Chelsea within the parameters of financial fair play to enable us to still be able to afford players such as Brighton's Moises Caicedo. We're going to talk about him a little bit more in a moment, but Mykhaylo Mudryk, I've made a few videos talking about my feelings on this one, my thoughts, and there's going to be a video either later on today or perhaps tomorrow where we explore some certain Chelsea formations, starting 11s with Mudryk in the side. I was having a debate with Josh, who you guys will remember if you watch the podcast, the 3 More Points pod, where Josh is an Arsenal fan, obviously loving life at the moment, but we're talking about Mudryk. Will he start the game against Liverpool at the weekend? And I think at this moment in time, Graham Potter would be foolish not to just throw him straight in the team, even in such an important high-profile fixture away at Liverpool. We've seen Eden Hazard go to Anfield and single-handedly win Chelsea games. And if Mudryk is as good as people are painting him out to be, if he's got that electric speed, people are saying he's just as fast as Kylian Mbappe, let's see it then. Let's just throw him in at the deep end. Chelsea have made a substantial signing here when it comes to putting that money out on the table. Mykhaylo Mudryk is not coming in as a prospect. Yes, he still is technically a prospect, and we talk about that word potential. You guys know my thoughts on the word potential if you've been a long-term follower on GBFC. I think as soon as a player passes 25, 26 years old, we've got to stop talking about potential. There are some players that Chelsea have had at the club now who are still young, but for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been waiting for fireworks, haven't seen fireworks. Add into that a plethora of injuries in the current squad, and Mykhaylo Mudryk has got to walk into the starting 11 for this game against Liverpool, in my opinion. Please let me know in the comments down below if you feel as though Mudryk should and is ready to start at Anfield on Saturday, I believe it is. But going along from this FFP conversation, Chelsea doing what they're doing with these long contracts and with these split payments to be able to go out there and potentially splash 65 to 75 million plus on Moises Caicedo. We're going to take a little look at this. Fabrizio Romano said on his YouTube channel that Chelsea are interested in signing Moises Caicedo. Of course, Brighton, we've got a good relationship with Brighton, even though we've stolen pretty much all of their staff, Graham Potter and various other members of his backroom team. We bought Marc Cucurella for 62 million. We also loaned Levi Colwill to Brighton. So Chelsea in conversations with Brighton and Hove Albion. We could get this one done. However, the debate comes with the price. Chelsea be willing to pay around 65 million. Brighton look as though they would be very stern and rigid on 75 million plus in order to sanction a sale of Moises Caicedo in January. So to bring back the debate that we had last week about would Chelsea benefit from writing off this season for the rest of it, waiting for players to come back from injury, and then next summer, Graham Potter can really analyse what he has, what he doesn't have, and then we can go all out and spend money on players like Moises Caicedo come the summer window. The big concern here for me is that until this season, no one's really talking about Caicedo. And it was kind of similar to that of Marc Cucurella, who, when we look at what he's done since he's been at Chelsea, for £62 million, you can't really argue that Cucurella has justified said price tag as of yet. So when we look at Caicedo, I think he is the profile of a central midfielder that Chelsea need. I think it is, despite Conor Gallagher playing well, surprisingly to some, in that double pivot against Crystal Palace alongside Jorginho, Chelsea know that we need to reinvigorate and revitalise this central midfield position. If Chelsea are going to keep building, then yes, we can rely on 38-year-old Thiago Silva as a centre-back. But then when we go forward through the pitch, Chelsea do need an anchor who is consistent in the middle. Caicedo has been phenomenal for Brighton this season in the middle of the park. And having already worked with Graham Potter, you could see this potentially as even less of a risk than the signing of Marc Cucurella. When we're talking 65 million plus, Chelsea probably going to need to explore it even deeper at like a 75 million pound plus figure to be able to buy him in January. I do think Caicedo is of the profile of a midfielder that Chelsea desperately need. The question is, 75 million, are we still talking about a risk here? Should Chelsea have just gone all out and splashed that cash on Enzo Fernandez? But when we're looking at the way that the club is orchestrating these deals for Badiashile, Mudryk, I think FFP is a concern. I think as long as we are still on the right side of not being in the fining zone or in the point deduction zone for breaking too many rules, I think as long as Chelsea are on the right side of that, we've got to look at a deal for Moises Caicedo in comparison to the dream deal, I think, this January, which was Enzo Fernandez. Benfica have made it so clear that unless Chelsea cough up that release clause, that deal is just not going to happen. Moises Caicedo, Premier League proven as well. There are certainly positives to this deal for Chelsea Football Club. I think when it comes to transfers, myself included, we do get excited about these sexy kind of transfers, which I think Enzo Fernandez, coming off the back of being the best young player at the World Cup, winning the World Cup with Argentina, you look at that incredible range of passing that Enzo Fernandez has available in his arsenal in the game. I think he would be the dream But I also think that what we're seeing with the Badiashile signing, what we're seeing with the Mudryk signing, these long contracts, these split payments, Chelsea are not really in a position to risk throwing 120 million euros out in one go for January. So, Caicedo, we're going to keep an eye on this one. A very important thing to remember as well is Caicedo's changing his agents right now. I believe that 18th of January, which is tomorrow, is the day where these new agents take over, running the whole behind the scenes of Caicedo's career. Will Chelsea have to go through Brighton first and then through the agents? Maybe Chelsea are waiting to speak to the player first with those new agents come tomorrow. And who knows, by the end of this week, Chelsea may be making a bid. Would it be too big for Brighton to turn down? We have to wait and see. We lowballed for Enzo, got shut down. Chelsea need a central midfielder, and hopefully he will come this January. The next story is regarding the right backs, and there isn't really a story to be had here, which I think frustrates a lot of people. But something that we got to remember here is whoever Chelsea bring in as right back, right wing back cover during this window, we've got to be careful with who we sign here, because a lot of the players that play in this position are going to look at any pathway to regularity in this Chelsea team. And with Reece James being so good, and I said this years ago on the channel, I think if anyone can find the clip where I say Mason Mount hit the ground running when Frank Lampard first took over, and everyone was talking about Mount, but I said Reece James will end up being the best player at Chelsea Football Club. He will end up being the most important player at Chelsea. When you look at our stats under Potter, with Reece James in the team, we're sensational. Without Reece James in the team, we are not. So any pursuit that Chelsea have for a right back or right wing back, the players are going to be... Sorry about that. That was my phone. The players that are going to be coming in are going to be looking at it thinking, have we only got 2 games of potential in this Chelsea team right now? Do I really want to sign for a team where I know for a fact my pathway into regular football is highly unlikely because of just how good Reece James is? Trevor Chalobah, I thought, did well against Crystal Palace. I thought he was better at right back than he was in the centre-back position in the game against Fulham a few days before. So maybe Chelsea might just give Trev the reins. If we can't buy a right back, Graham Potter might benefit from putting Chalobah in right back and trying to train him to be that number 2. And maybe that does give Chalobah an opportunity to stay at Chelsea if he's covering centre-back and then covering right back. Obviously, he's not as good as Reece, but I think Chelsea are going to struggle to bring in any kind of right back of serious talent who's got to care for how much football they're going to play. I think that's a genuine issue that Chelsea have right now. The final story of the day, there have been a couple of reports that Chelsea might be interested in Dusan Vlahovic from Juventus on a potential loan deal this January. I don't know if you guys were also watching Napoli the other day. Victor Osimhen, a player that Chelsea have been linked with in the past. This guy is absolutely phenomenal. And I want to talk about strikers in a bit more detail. Forward players, there's going to be a tier list coming out on GBFC either today or tomorrow. I'm not sure which way I'm going to do it yet. Do I do the Mudryk formations, lineups, or the tier list? Let me know which one you prefer in the comments down below. But Chelsea have been linked with Vlahovic. There have been links in the past for Victor Osimhen. Are Chelsea, with the signings of the loan of Felix, first of all, and then the signing of Mudryk, are we looking for more of a fluid front line, or do Chelsea still need a number 9? I'm going to leave that question for you in the comments down below, and then I'll explore that a bit more in an upcoming video talking about attacking options at Chelsea Football Club. But anyway, wrapping up this news video for you guys here today. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Thanks again for all the love and support recently. You guys have been on fire. Subscribe if you are new. Come on, you Blues.